Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Muhammad Zidane Atala, your host, and we are delighted to welcome you to the first international conference on business economics and management for a sustainable future. The conference brings together academia, researchers, and business and practitioners who are responsible for delivering sustainable business economics and management. It is an honor to me to introduce and welcome the keynote speakers for today. First is Dr. Sri Gunawan. Dr. Sri Gunawan is the head of the Indonesian Forum of Management, also known as Forum Management Indonesia. Secondly, Dr. Devmali Pereira. Dr. Pereira is a senior lecturer at the School of Business and Management at MIT University of Vietnam. Last but not least, Dr. Nafiu Oladokun. Dr. Nafiu Oladokun is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Business, Curtin University, Malaysia. Dear participant, please allow me to first read the agenda for today. The first agenda is the opening session. The second is the keynote speaker session. And finally, the third one is the panel session. Dear participant, we are now currently in the opening session. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Fitria Fauzi to open the conference today. Dr. Fauzi, the session is yours.
Thank you for the time. Good morning, all participants, keynote speakers, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning to our audience joining us online this morning. I would like to express my sincere gratitude and welcome you to the first International Conference on Business, Management, and Economics 2023. I honorably welcome our keynote speakers, Dr. Sri Gunawan, Dr. Devmali Pereira, and Dr. Nafiu Oladokun. I thank each of our keynote speakers for participating in this event. The quality and the caliber of the keynote speakers are outstanding. I also want to thank all of you for connecting this morning. It is my hope that the first International Conference on Business, Management, and Economics will be able to achieve its objective of providing an effective forum for academicians, researchers, practitioners to advance knowledge, research, and technology for a sustainable future. This is the first year we are virtually holding the conference from Palembang, Indonesia. Palembang is a vibrant city on South Sumatra Island with a population of 1.8 million. We hope next year the conference can be held offline. For the conference, we are proud to inform you that we have 90 participants this year from various institutions from 14 countries. We hope next year the conference will attract more participants. Due to the time differences, the participants from other side of the world, such as Europe and Africa, will not be able to join these morning sessions. But I believe they will join and present their research paper in the panel sessions this afternoon. As we come virtually together today with the theme of Sustainable Future, I would like to mention two reasons to be positive. First, we are all aware that sustainable business, sustainable economics, and sustainable management will lead to a better future. Second, for a better future, we all should put more effort into bringing positive changes to our environment to live in a better world. Last but not least, my deepest gratitude goes to the Training and Research Institute, Jaramba Ilmu Sukses, Forum Management Indonesia, Corwil Sumsel, Bina Insan University, Mr. Muhammad Akbar, and Directorate, and the University of Muhammadiyah Palembang, who have directly and indirectly supported the success of this conference. I wish you a very productive conference with exciting and encouraging discussions and knowledge exchange so we can together anticipate a future of groundbreaking knowledge, research, and technology for a sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, let me once again thank you for our keynote speakers for giving their time and insight today. And I hope all of you watching enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fauzi, for that amazing opening speech. Now we move on to the second session. We are about to begin now. Let me invite the first keynote speaker, Dr. Sri Gunawan from Indonesian Forum of Management. To Dr. Sri Gunawan, the session is yours.
Thank you, Muhammad Zidan. Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to be here today, share many things with all of you in this occasions. Okay, allow me to introduce my name, Sri Gunawan, President of Forum Indonesia, and also lecturers at the University of Erlangga. Well, let me talk about an issues that is important to Indonesia, especially in the sector of MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises in Indonesia, and the importance of MSMEs to digitize their businesses, moving to the traditional offline businesses to we call the online businesses, using digitizing many aspects of their business process, not just for their marketing purposes, but for the other business process. Why today to talk the importance issue? Let me share my presentation today. Hold on a minute. Okay. Okay, I hope you all can see my presentations. Okay. Anyone can see my presentations?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
it is.
thank you. Let me move on. Let's see the structures of businesses in Indonesia. As you can see that most businesses in Indonesia are considered micro, small, and medium enterprises. The data from Investor Daily is quoted in 2020. Only 0.01% of big companies are in total of 5,000 something enterprises. Most businesses are considered micro, which is 98.70% of companies in Indonesia are considered micro. What we call micro enterprises are enterprises or businesses with assets of less than 50 million rupiah. So those businesses are considered small food stall, barber shops, retail kiosks, and other micro enterprises. So most of them are informal. So from this data, we can see that Indonesian economy are composed of mostly micro enterprises. Then their contributions to our economies are very big. So they contribute roughly 60% of our gross domestic percent investments by 90%, more than 90% of national workforce employed in this kind of businesses. And you can see that 99% SMEs. And they contribute roughly 14% of exports. So from this data, we know that how big is the contributions of MSMEs to the Indonesian economy. And we believe then they generate real and positive impacts by reducing by reducing unemployment, by inspiring new business and so on and so on and so forth. So we see how important the MSM is to our economy. Okay. And the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, has delivered a global economic shock of enormous magnitude, we call it, leading to recession for over the past 2 years. It has mostly affected the MSME sector. See, from the data survey conducted by Katadata indicate that they lower their income by 30%, others lowering by 0 to 30%, only a few that increase their income. So that's why we call it the pandemic has mostly affected the MSME sectors. So 95% suffer from the pandemic situations. So this data shows that roughly 90% of MSMEs was lost during the pandemic. So they lost due to several problems. What are their problems? Access to capital. So they're mostly concerned about the access to capitals. Ease of doing business. As you can see, that the first problem that most Indonesian MSMEs are basically managed traditionally. They are untrained. They have little access to sort of proper credit financing. So their official business permits are requirement for banks and loans credits. And the lack of business management skills, innovations, and distribution that left MSMEs unable to compete. Training remains a problem. MSMEs are still minimally trained to handle financial management, product innovations, and also networking skill. And the pandemic has shifted consumer purchasing behavior from offline to online, delivering a new challenge and opportunity for MSMEs. Those are basically the problems that faced by MSMEs during the pandemic era. And then how they go about how they overcome those problems. Several strategies adopted by these enterprises. Firstly, from the production side, they try to reduce the cost of production by changing production technique, compositions of raw materials, by modify the products. Only a few who do nothing, left to fit. But most of them, actually even micro, small, medium and large enterprises they do the same thing. But many of them temporarily close their business. So those are the pictures of the MMSEs during the production side. From the marketing side, what did they do to overcome the problems they faced during the pandemic era? Selling via other methods, which is moving from offline to online. Sales. Making specific product package, special editions packaging, Idul Fitri edition packaging, giving discount and give things like that. Only if you do nothing. But mostly they sell moving from offline to online. 30% of micro businesses go online. Small businesses, they go online. Even medium and large businesses go online during the pandemic era. Other problems, they seek for a system. This is where our government, the Indonesian government, go in and assist for businesses. Okay. As we can see, the pandemic has shifted consumer purchasing behaviors from offline to online. So these digitalizations is considered a challenge by businesses, especially online businesses. According to the data from the Ministry of Information and Communications, 19 million of MSMEs have adopted technologies that utilize digital economy platforms to conduct their businesses. These numbers is a jump from the 2020 data. In 2020, there are about 8 million digitalized MSMEs. So it means that the latest data, which is in 2022, at the end of 2022, the number of digitalized MSMEs shows a more than 100% increase. So in addition to this achievement, data from Bank Indonesia also shows an impressive number of digital payment system adoption by MSMEs. So in mid-2022, roughly 90% of merchants that has adopted QR systems were MSMEs. So we see a big numbers, a jump in this business. So the potentials of micro, medium, small businessmen increase. You need easy and wide access to capital. You need streamlining their business process. And then we need adequate digital literacy. So our governments provide those, what we call it, contributions, those helps by providing access to capitals, by using digital literacies, have a program of digitalizing what we call it MSMEs, or in English we call it UMKM. So, however, the rapid development of digitalization, especially in the new economic sector, only occur in urban areas and provinces with rates of technology adoption. So these situations has led to a digital divide, a gap between regions in various parts of Indonesia, because we are the largest archipelagic country in the world. In this situation, you know that the moving from offline to online businesses, so they are joining online marketing, doing an e-commerce thing like this. So before and after or during the pandemic COVID-19 era, we see that most businesses in medium and large enterprise, they do online. They join online platform, Shopee, Tokopedia, things like that, in e-commerce. But the problem is in the micro. Before the pandemic, micro businesses only contribute to 31% of the online marketing activities. Only 31%, roughly 30% of micro businesses are online. This number slightly increased to 36%, 35%. So they moved from offline to online businesses. While in the medium and large enterprises, the numbers are nearly triples. Small businesses are increased by roughly 5 to 6%. So that means that micro and small businesses at this point were still reluctant to join online marketing, to do businesses online. Of those who do online activities, usually, mostly, they use online or use technology, digital from their logistic and shipping activities. Only 12% for marketing purposes. 25% for doing sales. So data indicates that 25% businesses using digital technology for selling their product. So, however, an interesting study indicates that most MSMEs, they are already aware of e-commerce presence. They know what is Shopee, they know Tokopedia, Lazada, Bukalapak, Bibli. Sometimes they use WhatsApp, things like that. So mostly 74%. But from 75%, really 75% who are aware of the digital platform of selling products. Only 35%, 36 or 32% for small and medium enterprises to adopt it. Online businesses. So research conducted by Deloitte Access Economics indicate barriers to digital transformation for MSMEs in Indonesia. The data indicates that 36% still using conventional marketing methods, only 18% using social media and website to promote their product. Then there are 37 of MSMEs were only able to operate computers and internet in a simple way. So most of them, roughly 60%, more than 60% don't know how to operate computers and use internet in the simplest way. The research conducted by Deloitte also supported by research conducted by the Nareksa Research Institutes. Their research indicated that 42% of MSMEs in the capital city of Indonesia, which is PKI Jakarta, use social media and digital marketing and business operations. Then that means that more than 50% of businesses in Jakarta, the biggest city in Indonesia, is still conducted their business traditionally using offline businesses. The problem also exists in any other parts of Indonesia. Worse, only 29% MSMEs in Java Island, and roughly 60% and outside Java Island, Kalimantan, Sumatra, things like that, that have utilized digital marketing. So most of the MSMEs now is still using what's called conventional platform in selling and marketing their products. Why? Because most of them don't know how to operate the computers using internet, things like this. So that's the problem. Of the 20% of the MSMEs in Indonesia, especially the micro and small businesses, they know the potential benefit of using e-commerce, selling through Tokopedia, selling through Shopee, things like that. They know the potential benefit, such as having an effective promotion, so you can gain wider networks, increase their revenue because they will have more customers who can come in, see the product and buy the product. But most of them is still reluctant of entering, using this kind of technologies. Because they think they don't have enough capital to expand businesses online. Many of them think that if they do business online, many customers buy their product, they don't have enough resources, they don't have enough products to be sold to the customers. Why? Issues back again to the limited capital, because they need more capital to produce the product and to sell the product. That are problems. Okay. Issues that coming in this business is that most businesses are still considered wait and see MSMEs. in terms of business mindset, they have a business mindset of, okay, let's see how it goes. You don't want to pursue the businesses actively, but rather passive. The things that income is more important than their business. So expanding income becoming more important to them than expanding the businesses, growing the business, not just the income, but making the business bigger and bigger, so they can move from sort of micro businesses to small businesses, from small to medium businesses. So they have all sorts of problems in their business mindset. Only a very few, which is 15% of our MSMEs actively managing this business. They have proper business records, financial records, so focus on expansion, how to expand the business, moving to other territories, having many different types of product, different types of business. And then they use technology, using digital based on the benefits, so they can grow their business instead of just because the trends. Many of their peers, they sell online, then they do their business and selling their business also online. So they follow customers and other sellers and adapting the solutions of overcoming the problems of their income. So that's also the problems. So in conclusions of this kind of problems, and the number of business that's run digitally in Indonesia, because they have the problems. The main problems is, as I can say before, that they do not know how to use the internet, lack the knowledge of learning business online. A research conducted by Katadata indicates that 24%, nearly 24%, they don't know how to market online. And the things that many customers are not able to use internet. 54% of Indonesian customers are not able to use the internet. That's what they think about why they do use the internet. But all MSMEs who are adopting digital technology to sell the products, they use many different platforms for solving the problems. They know that using e-commerce learns about many things. They can build their brand identity, and then they can do product packaging quite nicely in terms of the design. They can promote, they can distribute the products. And also by using e-commerce, these MSMEs gradually can comply to the industry standards and certifications, so giving them a solid foundation to develop their businesses further. That's basically the benefit of adopting technology. So they have what we call the limited digital literacy. The problem is because of high social capital. In the context of Indonesia, the majority of the MSMEs who go digital, they do not have high digital skills. Research conducted by Katadata also indicate that the adoptions of digital technology for productive purposes is only roughly 20-something%. That's why most of their businesses are still conducted using offline. What can we do? The three things that must be concerns for stakeholders, especially the governments, to empower the MSMEs so they can go digital and increase the businesses and encourage the economic growth. First, by improving digital literacy. MSMEs is very crucial because technology will strengthen their ability to overcome challenges in doing business. The second, training. Training is necessary. Why? Because MSME basically required to further develop their products, businesses, in terms of packaging, using modern packaging, certifications, so that they can win the customers in the competitions of doing business using online platform. So those are issues that needs to be harnessed. So, for the MSMEs who have not yet started digitalizations, what can they do? There are several things that can be done by any MSMEs, especially micro and small businesses who have not yet digitalized their businesses. First step is by determining the business models. Types of models and business using the payment sector, sales, what kinds of goods or products they are going to produce or sell, and what kind of payment system they're going to use it, business model. And then using the platform, starting from the management platform in terms of product sales, HR, and things like that. And then using e-commerce, things about the digital payment methods to use. Currently now, Bank Indonesia move on to introduce QRIS, easier to be used. Many now move on to cashless society by using QRIS, debits, things like that. Maximize this use of social media is also important. Now we can see that many businesses are move on to using social medias. Others using WhatsApp. Now TikTok is also a popular platform. Threatens the existence of Instagram and also Shopee as a platform for selling the product to the customers for the Indonesian small micro enterprises. And then learn digital marketing technology. Also use supporting media and software to enter. Those are issues, those are problems, and those are solutions. That's over. As the government also said, that the use of technology for MSMEs is very important for business development. Government also insists that the reasons that digitalization has proven to be able to increase the class of MSMEs. We often hear the success stories of MSMEs, businesses who are able to attract the market. So, that's the importance. So, let me conclude our this morning by emphasizing the importance of digitizing of businesses and MSMEs. So this kind of digitations can help the MSMEs to survive during the pandemics era. So any MSMEs, they need to adopt digitalization so that they can maintain productivity, so they can maintain and improve their income amid COVID-19, post-COVID-19. And digital penetrations can be their main strategy, basically because the strategy can expand their market reach, can promote their products, so they can also comply with social distance policies during COVID-19. Lastly, digitalization is increasing relevant and strategic for MSMEs to survive and play a role as the main driver of the economic recovery. However, the digitization of MSME must be balanced with the two requirements. First, by increasing the capacity of the MSMEs and supporting market access policies for MSMEs. That's where the government can play in to help them improving their literacies, improving their digital literacies, providing many supports for MSME to go digital. Unless the government can provide the support for them, help them, then a transition moving from the what we call traditional platform to the digital platform will not go smooth, as data indicate that the growth is steadily increasing, but we need to patch up increasing the number of businesses who go from offline business to online businesses. That's my talk this morning about the importance of digitizing businesses, especially for MSMEs businesses in Indonesia. Thank you for attention and have good luck for the conference today, for presenting for your paper, having a network mingling with many other participants during the day. Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sri Gunawan, for your valuable insight about the MSME digitizing in Indonesia. Wonderful presentation, and I hope all participants can learn a thing or two about the subject that was presented. Now, moving on, for the second keynote speaker, let me invite Dr. Devmali Pereira from the University of MIT University of Vietnam. The session is yours.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone can hear me properly. So, okay, great. Just give me like a few seconds to set up my screen. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, 1 second, let me put this into presentation mode. Okay, it's done. Okay, great. All set. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be a part of this conference, and I appreciate Dr. Fitria for inviting me to be a guest speaker of this session. Thank you, Dr. Fitria. I'm actually from RMIT University, Vietnam, and I live in Ho Chi Minh City. So it's glad to be a part of this Indonesian conference and giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and insights about fintech and how fintech is changing the financial landscape. So my talk will be about overall the global financial markets and how it's going to be changing with these technological advancements in the future. Let's start our discussion with a positive note. These are some of the quotes that I have seen from two famous people. First one is from Steve Jobs. He's the founder of Apple, where he emphasized that innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity, but not as a threat. So we are in a kind of a situation where we need to be positively thinking about innovation. We can't always think about it as a disruption. Instead of that, we should see it as an opportunity, because the way forward is going to be much more changing. The second quote is, it's actually from Bill Gates. He's the co-founder and the chairman of Microsoft. But surprisingly, he made this statement in 1994, not somewhere any closer. In 1994, he states that banking is necessary, but banks are not. In that time, nobody understood what he actually meant. But now, with the changes in the technology, cryptocurrencies, fintech, and all over the things, what is going on in the market, now we can see what he has visioned in 1994. The banking as a service is necessary, but banks are not really necessary. I will talk about it in detail later. So this is the outline of my presentation. I will start with sharing some important statistics from the world, and then I will provide you an introduction to fintech. If you don't know anything about fintech, don't worry. I will just try to make it as simple as possible. And then we will talk about what is DeFi, or it is called decentralized financial systems. And then we will look at a conceptual framework for fintech interactions. And then we will start looking at the importance of fintech, how fintech is going to change the future financial landscape. And I will like to share with you guys a paper that I have done with my colleagues here. It's about monetary policy in the age of cryptocurrency. And finally, I will provide you a conclusion. These are the information that I have taken from one of the World Bank reports. All the references for this information are provided at the end of the slide set. So this is the global fintech investment. So the global fintech investment is between 2010 and 2021. So you can see, starting from 2018, there is a significant increase into the fintech companies in US billion dollars. And it has increased in 2019, came to a peak number of 215.4 billion. And then it dropped in 2020, but still it's a considerable investment into fintech. And if you look at the part B graph here, it shows the growth in regions. The highest growth is recorded for US, and then we have some growth for UK, China, and European region as well. So this is about how fintech is getting famous, and this is about how fintech is getting important in the finance industry. This is another snapshot of the global credit levels, where you can see how global big tech credit is booming throughout this time period. So this is starting from 2013, and you can see how the credit levels offered by fintech is increasing and how the credit level offered by big tech is increasing. So big tech stands for the big technological companies. And in the second graph, you can see these alternative forms of lending are becoming a significant portion of total credit in few economies. So these are for different countries. Canada, this is China, Japan, Korea, UK, and this is, I think it should be for India. So it goes like that. The basic idea here is earlier in traditional ways, if you want to borrow the money, how did we borrow the money? We have to go to a bank and then borrow the money from them. But now there are different alternative forms of lending that I will be discussed later. And these forms of lending are becoming very famous and very popular among the financial industry. This is an interesting finding. There is a global Findex database. This is prepared by World Bank. Every 3 years, they publish this data. This is about the unbanked population, unbanked adult population in the world. Even though we have seen so many changes in the technology and fintech is becoming very important, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, they all are playing a great role in the market these days. But still we can see there is a 24% adult population without a bank account. That means in 2021, they do not have access to the traditional financial system. And this unbanked population is greater among women. There is a 13% in the global. They do not have access to the banking system. And there is 11% men who do not have access to the traditional banking system. I have summarized some interesting findings about the Asian region because that is where we live and that's our home. It's important to see Asian region and African region is suffering from unbanked population. In Asia, in 2021, the highest unbanked population is reported for Pakistan. There is 79% of adult population without a proper bank account. And then the next one would be for Cambodia, where they have around 67%. And for Indonesia, among the adult population, 48% is still unbanked. That means half of the adult population in Indonesia also still unbanked and they don't have a proper bank account. And if you look at the composition between female and male, you will see most of the time the female population do not have the access to the traditional financial systems because the unbanked percentage for women is higher than the unbanked percentage for men. But it's surprisingly, it's different for Indonesia, where Indonesia, you can say female unbanked presentation is only 48, whereas men's unbanked percentage is 49%. So what these numbers tell us? We are living in a situation in a world where everything is changing rapidly because of the technology, but still there are countries who are suffering from, and there are individuals who are suffering from lack of access to the traditional financial system. So that is why financial technology or fintech is important. So what do we mean by financial technology is, it refers to the technological innovation in the design and delivery of financial services and products. Let's quickly learn what are these fintech ideas or what are these fintech examples that I have summarized here. One good example for fintech is the blockchain. So blockchain is simply, this is a decentralized and transparent digital ledger that securely records transactions across multiple computers. So when you're using blockchain, that eliminates the need to have an intermediary. You can do a peer-to-peer transaction directly without going through a bank. So that reduces the cost and that improves the efficiency of the financial services as well. Now, a good example of the good example of how technology is changing the currencies is the cryptocurrencies. The cryptocurrencies are actually changing the monetary policies and the monetary frameworks of the countries. I hope you all know about the famous cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and there are different types of cryptocurrencies in the world as well. So what they do is, you don't need to depend on the fiat currency that is issued by the government. If you are using cryptocurrencies, you can easily transfer money across borders. You don't need to obtain the service of a banking system. Instead of that, from one crypto wallet to another crypto wallet, you can simply send the money at a lower cost and at a faster speed. Another important thing to remember is artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is also changing the world. This is a field of computer science where we try to simulate the human intelligence. In financial markets, we use artificial intelligence to generate algorithms where we can analyze a majority of data to come up with some investment decisions or to come up with some different decisions to support financial decision making. In addition to that, we can use AI in finance to enable automated decision making, enable automated risk assessment processes, as well as to reduce or to detect frauds that is happening in the financial arena. So there are AI-powered chatbots and virtual assistants to enhance customer service and to provide investment analysis support for our investors. So these are some of the applications we do with artificial intelligence. And there are many more innovative things that we can do with AI as well. Another important thing that have revolutionized the way we conduct the financial services is the mobile payments. Mobile payments played a major role in African countries. In African countries, we know the literacy level of the people are very low. So for them, they do not have access to the financial system or the banking system, the traditional method. So what they could do is to improve the financial inclusion or the access to financial services in African countries. They started introducing mobile payment-based systems. Any mobile apps or mobile phone-based wallets that they can use to do payments, or they can use to send money from one point to another point. So that is another way how we have revolutionized our payment-based systems and the financial services in majority of the developing and emerging countries. And there is another concept which is emerging these days, which is known as crowdfunding. So crowdfunding means when you want to develop a new product or when you want to set up a new firm, earlier we have to depend on the banks or funds that we receive from the banks. But in crowdfunding, we can set up an online platform where we invite investors who are willing to invest to participate in that online platform. So with crowdfunding, it is possible to access to the surplus funds of many investors who are willing to invest in these type of firms. Crowdfunding also allows firms to raise for their funds for their innovative projects from a large pool of investors at a lower cost compared to the borrowing through a financial institution. Another application of fintech is insurtech. Insurtech is where we apply financial technology concepts to the insurance industry. In the insurtech industry, we incorporate AI, data analytics, and the devices like Internet of Things devices. And the main objective here is to assess the risk accurately and to personalize policies and to provide personalized information for a customer. In addition to that, using this type of fintech applications, the industry could have been able to streamline the claim processes for insurance, and ultimately the objective is to improve the efficiency of the services and then to improve the customer experience. Another application of fintech is peer-to-peer lending and borrowing, where peer-to-peer lending and borrowing offers the borrowers and lenders, they get together in an online platform directly so they can lend and borrow the money from each other. This is a kind of a situation. This is a kind of an alternative form of credit resource. And what is the important thing here is you do not need a bank to do a peer-to-peer lending and borrowing. However, there is a risk that we need to understand. The people, some investors and some lenders are kind of worried about these type of peer-to-peer lending platforms because they need a proper evidence that if they can trust the other party who is going to borrow the money from them. So we will discuss later, these technologies are developing many opportunities, but still, are we confident enough to use these technologies? Do we have the complete trust on these type of financial technologies? That is a kind of a question that we still need to figure out. Lastly, we have robotic process automation, which utilizes software robots to automate repetitive tasks and then to streamline workflows in finance. So these RPAs are basically improving the operational efficiency of the businesses. They try to reduce the errors. And if you can use a robot to replace the day-to-day repetitive task, what we can do is we can ask our employees to engage in more value-adding activities. So that is how we are going to improve the use of RPAs, and that is how the RPA would improve the efficiency and the cost effectiveness of a firm. With all these things, let me quickly give you a brief introduction to what is meant by decentralized financing, because we are going to use this term throughout the presentation as well. The traditional method of financial landscape is we have a central regulator. In any country, our central regulator is the government, but on behalf of the government, it is the central bank of that country who is going to monitor the monetary policy and who is going to regulate the financial system. But the way forward for the financial landscape will be a decentralized financial system where we really don't need a regulator for that. We are going to lose the control. The governments are going to lose the control over the monetary policy in this decentralized financial system. So there is a nice book written by one of the famous professors in US. He's a professor in finance. His name is Professor Campbell Harvey. And he and his team, they have written a book called DeFi and the Future of Finance. If you're interested to learn more, please go ahead and read this book. It's a very nice reading and it's in simple terms. Any person who do not have any finance background also can understand what the story he's talking about. So in their book, they identified why this fintech and the blockchain technologies are changing the traditional financial system. They identified there are 5 key issues in this centralized system. First one is the centralized control. You need to think about it like this. We have one controlling unit, government or the central bank. They are going to set up the monetary policy and they're going to decide the interest rates, what is applicable for the entire financial system in the country. How successfully they can do that? Can we expect that they will not be biased when they are making decisions? So this centralized control has made some issues to the centralized or the traditional financial system. The second one that we need to understand is limited access. I have already proved with some evidence earlier, even in this traditional financial system, even with these fast changing technologies, we still have unbanked adult population in the countries. So that means not every people in an economy have access to our traditional financial system. So there is a room for us to improve our financial system and improve the way how we provide financial services. The third issue is inefficiency. Inefficiency is where it can arise because of 2 reasons. It could be because of the cost, the services are expensive, or it could be because it takes a lot of time to complete a financial service. One simple example is, think about like, if I want to send money from one country to another country, I do have online banking. It's just a matter of, for me, logging into my banking system and do the transaction in my online banking system. Even if I do it within few seconds, It does not mean that the other end, in other country, the person who is going to receive the money will not receive the money immediately. We know that in the standard practice, it will take at least 2 to 3 days to receive the money in the other account. So this is the inefficiency that we are experiencing in this traditional financial system. And another issue with the traditional financial system is lack of interoperability. So that means there is a lack of interconnectivity between financial institutions. So because of that, the switching cost from one bank to another is expensive for a customer. We cannot easily do that. It takes a lot of time. You need to spend the time and money both. And the last issue in the centralized financial system is opacity. Opacity means lack of transparency. We do not have all the information about a financial system. As customers, we do not have all the information about our banks. The only source of information available for us is their financial reports that they publish every year. Or maybe some news they're going to have on the newspapers and any other magazines. So these are the information that we have. But we need to be cautious when we are dealing with the bank. We need to be cautious because bank is where we deposit our money, and we need to make sure if our money is safe with that bank or not. So that lack of information and lack of transparency is a problem in this centralized financial system. Now, the important thing is, why do we need to care about these key issues? These key issues have two major implications on an economy. First one, it is going to reduce the economic growth, and at the same time, it will increase the inequality among the income distribution of people in the country. So these are the reasons why the fintech and why these new technologies are getting important in the finance, and the way forward will be a decentralized financial system where we do not have a centralized person to control the financial system. Next, I would like to give you this framework. This is again a framework developed by World Bank. This is a conceptual framework they have developed to identify the interactions between markets, policy, development in this fintech setting. So you can say our ultimate objective here is to achieve financial and economic development. So all the technologies what we are using should ultimately focus on the development of your country, should ultimately focus on the economic development as well as the financial development of the country. Now let's quickly look at how these things are going to be connected. The two fundamental drivers of fintech are the power of computing and connectivity. Now we have internet, so our devices are connected through mobile networks, or it may be connected through communication networks. And as well as that, we have low-cost computing and low-cost data storage. So these things, the data and connectivity can alleviate key frictions in the provision of financial services, such as information asymmetries and transaction cost. So these data-driven business models are able to scale rapidly, and they are able to leverage the positive feedback they are receiving from customers. And based on that, they are able to provide additional service to the customers as well. Now, these drivers in the fintech arena, they are actually reconfiguring how we are doing the business models. And for a long period of time, the transaction cost and the limitations on the information flow have dictated the financial services industry, and that have created some frictions in the market. But now, with the reduction in the transaction cost and with the seamless exchange of information between the different parties in the market, what has happened is we are able to rebind, or we are able to decompose the financial services that we provided earlier into different components. So that different components, the unbundling of products and services is known as atomization. Our value chains of the businesses are changing. We don't do the business in the same way that we used to do in the traditional method. So it is important to understand these technologies are not just going to have an impact on the financial system, it is going to have an impact on all the other aspects of our lives as well. You can't do your traditional banking what we used to do earlier because they are now trying to reduce the interaction with the human interaction in the banks. So the banks will be always encouraging you to use the teller machine. They will always encourage you to use the online banking system. So that's how the things are changing. So these changes will have an impact on the business models and products, market players, market structures, and the financial infrastructure as well. What is important to understand is this digital transformation both creates a need for new infrastructure as well as it is changing or it is requiring for us to think about our regulatory frameworks as well. We have a regulatory framework which was actually based on our traditional financial system. But this regulation system or the regulatory system is not going to be sufficient if we are going to move forward with these changes in the technology and if we are going to be moving towards a decentralized financial system. So at this point, it is really important that regulators have to think about what we are going to do with our regulations. And they have 3 questions to answer here. What to regulate, when to regulate, and how to regulate. Lastly, in this context, the design and governance of financial infrastructure become a key policy lever to fully enhance the efficiency gains and the safeguarding of competition. So we always have to make sure that we are going to safeguard our consumer and the investor. That should be our ultimate objective. Now, why do we need to study about fintech, or why do we need to learn about fintech, and why fintech is becoming more important in finance? Fintech is actually transforming the financial sector rapidly, and it's actually blurring the boundaries between financial firms and the financial sector. At the same time, this ongoing digitization process of financial services and money, it creates opportunities to build more inclusive and more efficient financial services. And it also promotes economic development. If you read literature on finance, you will be able to see there are numerous research papers who provide positive evidence to prove that the fintech and financial inclusion promotes economic growth of a country. This is very true, or this is really, there is a very significant relationship for the developing economies, and there are many studies published especially related to African countries. And on the other hand, fintech is also important because fintech supports us in achieving United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Especially, fintech applications will help us to achieve SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, SDG 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and it will also provide us to achieve SDG 10, reduce inequalities. If we can provide access to financial services through fintech developments to everyone, that is going to reduce the inequalities in the market. So everyone can access the financial system, so they may be able to participate in this system. Now it's important to understand what is the way forward. The future of the financial landscape is continuously evolving, and these technologies are reshaping that growth. And these are some of the important things that you need to keep an eye on these days: how cryptocurrencies and how crypto assets, including stable coins, are going to change the world. And there is another interesting, which is in the discussions and the governments are trying to introduce, that is called CBDC, or central bank digital currencies. So this is a kind of a digital version of the fiat currencies we have. So the objective of introducing a central bank digital currency is still the issuer will be the central bank of the country, and central bank will be able to control the monetary policy in this situation. But if you are going to accept cryptocurrencies based on blockchain, central bank is going to lose the control over the monetary policy. And the third important thing that is changing the financial sector is generative AI. How artificial intelligence is changing the way how we conduct the businesses, how we provide financial services. And at the same time, it is important to understand these technologies are going to make some threats to our jobs as well. In this technological world, some jobs are not going to be useful anymore. The demand for some jobs will be reduced, and there will be a new demand created for new types of jobs. So that is why we need to be considering about this fintech. At the same time, it is also noteworthy that these new technologies carry a significant risk related to financial integrity, such as money laundering and fraud, as well as challenges related to consumer and investor protection. Additionally, these technologies may also have an impact on financial stability, fair competition, and the good governance systems of the countries. Therefore, it is essential to address these risks through a robust regulation, effective governance mechanisms, and with collaborative efforts among countries. So this is not just going to be a problem of one country, because the financial systems are globally integrated. We need to make sure that we all work together to achieve this, or to find the best solutions for these threats and the risks that we are going to face. Next, I would like to take some time to share the insights of our paper that we have done. This is a paper that we have done for Ethereum Foundation. Last year, we received an external grant, and we have prepared a report for them. This is on monetary policy in the age of cryptocurrency. In this report, we have 3 chapters. First chapter is the literature review. We analyzed historical evidence on the development of money, monetary policies throughout the historical time periods, and we compared the economic growth and inflation under different money regimes. In chapter 1, we basically focused about how the money and monetary policies have developed throughout the commodity money periods, commodity-backed money periods, fiat money periods, and now how it's going to be changing with cryptocurrencies. In the second chapter, we provide a detailed explanation about challenges and opportunities of adopting cryptocurrencies as legal tender. This chapter is unique because we provide a detailed explanation based on 2 case studies. One is based on El Salvador and Central African Republic, because these are the 2 countries in the recent history, they adopted Bitcoin as legal tender in their own countries. So we discuss about the reasons why they adopted these cryptocurrencies and the challenges and opportunities of adopting these cryptocurrencies as legal tender. In the third chapter, we discuss something more technical, where we wanted to explain the difference between the proof of work and proof of stake consensus mechanisms and their potential implications for monetary policy and economic growth. So our objective was to identify how these consensus mechanisms will impact the monetary policy if we adopt cryptocurrency as legal tender of any country. If you're interested in reading more about this report, I have provided the link here. So this report is available through SSRN. You can find the full report over there. But we are now in the process of converting this report into 2 academic research papers, and we have already done that. These 2 academic papers are still under the review of 2 high-ranked journals. I hope we will be able to publish these 2 papers soon as well. Since our community today is researchers, I thought it would be good to share some research ideas if you are interested in doing research related to this area. Fintech, blockchain, and the financial services, these are very new ideas. So there is a huge research gap in the existing literature. For some areas, we have enough evidence, but we can still keep on doing research related to these areas because the technology is changing vastly. Every day there is a change. So one thing that we can study further is what is the role of fintech in promoting financial inclusion and how fintech is actually promoting serving to the underserved population, to the unbanked population. We can keep on investigating, and there is lack of literature about investigating the effectiveness and adaptability of existing regulatory frameworks to these scenarios of decentralized financial systems. We can also keep on doing research related to understanding the factors influencing the user adoption of fintech services. What factors affect for a user to adopt fintech services? What are the impact of user behavior on the success and sustainability of fintech platforms? And there is another area. We do have existing evidence about this topic, but we still can figure out some research gaps in this area. That is about how fintech is going to have an impact on the economic growth, job creation, inequality, and the overall development of different regions or countries. Or you can do it as a kind of a cross-country analysis for all the countries in the world. Another area of prospective research is we can investigate the dynamics of collaboration between traditional financial institutions and fintech startups. We can study what would be the challenges if we are going to combine, and what are the opportunities, and what would be the benefits or the outcomes of such partnerships or collaborations. And finally, we can also research about trust and confidence, that is examining the factors influencing the trust and confidence in fintech platforms. So if you read some research related to law, there are some research evidence that are already published about how trust and confidence is going to be important in regulatory frameworks related to fintech. With that, to conclude, I would like to mention one important thing. This is a kind of an ongoing digital transformation. Whether we like it or not, we are going to experience in our lifetime so many changes in the future, in the coming decades. So it is important to understand this digital transformation is a kind of a paradigm shift that will have an impact on various policy implications. And it is important to be mindful that how policy trade-offs are evolving when we adopt fintech technologies. We cannot do with the existing policies. It is important to review our regulatory frameworks to ensure that they remain fit for the purpose and they provide a safe and efficient and inclusive financial system for everyone. At the same time, countries should understand that we are going to modernize and open up financial infrastructures to enable competition and contestability in this world. And what is important at the end of the day, we need to have strong collaborations among countries, cross-border coordination, sharing of information and best practices so that we can learn lessons from each other to develop a proper policy framework and regulatory framework to cater to these changes in the world. Ultimately, I would like to emphasize one important thing. This is not just about fintech, or this is not just about the financial system. As educators, as researchers, we also need to understand the impact of these technologies into our areas. So the way how we teach has changed now. Our teaching pedagogies have changed because of the technologies. And as a finance academic, as a lecturer in finance, I have to keep on updating myself, because when the industry is changing, we need to update ourselves as well. So these changes in technology will ultimately impact the entire economy as well as our day-to-day life. So with that, I would like to conclude my presentation, and you can see the references here in this slide. And I would like to thank the organizing committee again for giving me this opportunity to share my insights in this forum. And I wish you all the best for the presenters, and I wish you all have a productive day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Devmali Pereira, for delivering such an insightful and thought-provoking presentation. Your expertise and passion for the topic about fintech revolutionizing the financial landscape truly shone through, and we appreciate the effort you put into preparing this presentation. Okay, lastly but not least, for the last keynote speaker, let me invite Dr. Nafiu Oladokun from Curtin University. The session is yours.
Hello. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning. So please give me
Morning,
some time
doctor.
to upload my slide. Give me a minute. I'm having difficulties uploading my slide from here. It's telling me that one participant can share at a time.
Can you send it to me or
Okay.
yes? Please.
Okay. Okay, sent already. Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, once again, good morning, everyone. So my name is Oladokun Nafio from Curtin University's Faculties of Business. I will first of all appreciate and thank the organizer of this very important conference, starting from Dr. Fitria and all others organizers of this particular conference. Thank you for organizing these very important topics. As we all know that globally the world is facing sustainability problems. So I can say that this particular conference, can you hear me? Is my
Yes,
voice
you
clear?
can.
Okay.
Yes, it is clear,
All
Doctor.
right. So this particular conference comes at the right times, and we're looking forward for more insightful and societies relevant conference like this. So without wasting our times, I will start by presenting my topics, which is on green finance, economic growth in developing countries. So my slide outlines, so next slide, see, okay. So my slide outline, I will first of all define what is green finance, what is the current situations of green finance investment globally, opportunities and challenges of green finance investment in developing countries, potentials of green finance to economic growth in developing countries, and way forward to green finance development in developing countries. Next. Okay, so when we are talking of green finance can basically be defined as all finance that incorporated environment, socials, and governance factors into business decisions, economic development, and investment strategies. So as we all know, we are talking of the current global warming. Global warming has impacted a lot, especially in developing countries. It has a lot of impact, especially in developing countries. For example, in Africa, Africa contributed the least when we are talking of greenhouse emissions. But today, Africa suffered the most when we are talking of the climate changes. In fact, in the next 10 years, it has been predicted that in Africa alone, for example, due to this particular global warming, is going to wipe out about 11% from their global GDPs. So same things is going to affect the health, is going to affect the waters. So it has a lot of implications. So that is why this particular topic is very, very important. And as we know, financial institutions play a key role in allocating resources. So they play a very vital role in resources allocations. Companies approach them also. So that is why it is important to increase the campaign of including ESG factors in determining lending and borrowing issued by the financial institutions. So the international finance corporations has defined green finance as the financing of ventures that generate environmental benefits to improvement. So achieving a win-win situations between economic development and environmental qualities is a big challenge, because when we are talking a big challenge, the traditional way, as we all know, burning of fossil fuel contribute, such as oil and gas and coals, contribute the highest to the greenhouse emissions. So to deviate from such kind of energy, energy supply that help in the productions and consumptions of goods to the cleaner energy is not easy. So it is a long-run transitions. So as we know, as of 2019, green finance investment is estimated at 7 trillion. So that shows that green finance is gaining a lot of acceptance globally. It's gaining a lot of acceptance globally, which we hope that it will continue to grow. 2.5 billions are likely, for example, the effect in the developing countries, 2.5, according to the United Nations, 2.5 billions are likely to migrate from the rural to urban areas, with more than 90% of this increase concentrate in emerging markets. So this is as a result of increasing inequalities, which is a part of the ESG, which is a part of the social aspect of the ESG. So all these factors need to be incorporated into financial and business strategies. Next. Okay, so let me share this statistic with you. Some of them, that is the carbon contributions by region. Asian Pacific, for example, contribute 17,735 metric tons of carbon dioxide. So as we can see here, Asian Pacific contributed a lot, the largest shares of the carbon dioxide, followed by the North American, Europe, Middle East, Commonwealth of the Independent States, Africa, and South and Central America. Next. So numbers and assets under management of sustainable funds. When we are talking of asset under management of these are the financial assets that are in line with the sustainable, that incorporate ESG factors. These are the financial that is asset under management that incorporate ESG factors. For example, here we can see that from 2010 up till 2020, from 2010 up to 2020, the asset under management of sustainable funds have been dominated by the USA. It has been dominated by the USA and Europe. Developing countries started investing in assets under management for sustainable funds from year 2016. So you can see here from year 2016. So, and it keep increasing. So that shows that the awareness and importance of green finance and the benefit of green finance is increasing among the developing countries. So it's increasing among the developing countries. When we are talking of green finance, examples of green finance such as green loan, green bond, carbon credit, and many others like that, whereby it gives it includes the climate risk into assessment of the loan and bonds. Next. So what are the challenges, especially for the developing countries? What are the challenges to increase green finance in developing countries? One of the challenges is that most of the developing countries rely on natural resources to generate energy, which power our consumptions and productions. Most of them rely on natural resources. For example, what are the natural resources? The natural resources are mainly concentrated by fossil fuel, such as coal, oil and gases, and many other things. So in order to transit from this traditional source of energy to the cleaner energies is not easy. It's not easy. So it's going to be a long run to achieve enough resources allocations to the greenhouse and environmental friendly investments. The second factor is portfolio managers usually focus on governance with less emphasis on environmental and sustainability. See, when we are talking of portfolio managers, we are talking of the fund managers such as the banks, such as the mutual funds and many other financial institutions. So most of these particular fund managers, they focus on governance. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes.
me? Okay.
Yes.
Most of these portfolio managers, they focus on governance. That is, their main focus is that they want to impress their investors. They want to impress their investors and only have the confidence of their investors. So, and there is a need. Most of these investors are not aware of the importance of most of the investors are not aware of the importance of incorporating environmental friendly factors into investment decisions. So in order to, these particular challenges is in order to mobilize funds from the investors whom they have to manage their funds. So they are not increasing the campaign of the importance of ESG factors, environmental, social, and governance. So they focus only on governance while stress less on the environmental and the social. Inconsistent and incoherent of the rating agencies. As we know, the rating agencies give rating to different bonds. They give rating to bonds and some others financial instruments. So these rating agencies in most of the developing countries, they are not considering sustainable factors. They are not considering, hello? So they are not incorporating the sustainable factors into their ratings. So all these factors are also necessary in order to improve ESG factors in developing countries. And another challenge is that no proper consideration. Another challenge is that global inequalities to access finance. Global inequalities to access finance. Based on my previous slide, you can see that based on my previous slide, we can see that these particular sectors is dominated by the US and the European countries. So they attract most of the investments related to the green finance investments. So meaning that the financial market in the developing countries are not well developed. So it needs to be well developed to attract investors' confidence, so that to boost the green finance investments in those countries. For example, sub-Saharan Africa represents only 0.3% of the global green bond. When you are talking of the whole global green bond, throughout the world, sub-Saharan African contribute only 0.3%. And you are talking of sub-Saharan African, for example, we are talking of countries close to like 20 countries. So they contribute only 0.3%. And resources allocations difficulties due to divestment. So I've already explained this. Resources allocations, that is the transitions from the traditional way of productions and consumptions to the cleanest energy sources. So all these things represent a huge challenges. There are a lot of those challenges are not limited to this, a lot of challenges, but I identify all these challenges as the main burden to improving green bond in developing countries. What are the opportunities in green finance? The opportunities in green finance in developing countries are not short-term opportunities, they are long-term opportunities. As we all know that currently the effect of global warming are most felt in the developing countries compared to the advanced countries. So in order to improve green finance investment in developing countries, we must see it as a long-term investment because it might not yield immediate economic growth. We have to sacrifice the short-term economic growth for long-term economic growth in order to transit from the carbon emissions and all other toxic sources of energy to cleaner energy. So it requires a lot of investment. And you know, the climate, because the risk is very huge. Climate risks, such as, for example, bad weather, which can affect businesses, everything. So there is a need to transit to a more cleaner energy in the long run. So it's going to have we're going to have a more safer societies, and economic growth will be achieved in the long run. One of the opportunities in the green finance is it helps in channeling private investment to achieve environmental friendly and resource efficient productions and consumptions. That is one of the main advantage opportunities there. So green bond, green loan, and all these help to mobilize funds to invest in those companies that have ESG factors in their business and investment decisions. The second opportunities here is that green finance has the potential to produce investment that support resilient economy. So when we are talking of resilient economy, this is not for the short term, this is the long run. So in order to mitigate the climate factor, the negative impact of the climate effect, green finance could achieve low carbon, resource efficient, and sustainable economic in the long run, which is good for our health, for sustainability, for safer societies, for food securities, and many other things. So these are some of the opportunities in green finance. Next. Way forward to green finance in developing countries. Yes, we all know that green finance or green bond is growing at a very low pace in developing countries. But what are the way forward? Some of the way forward is that effective policies that support green finance. So everything starts from policies. If government, for example, in developing countries, like what is the fund in developed countries, introduce credit, carbon credit, for example, that is taxing those companies that contributed highest to the greenhouse emissions. If they tax them higher, so all those kind of policies can help to develop an effective structures of green finance in developing countries. Awareness of aligning public sector's finance decisions with sustainable development. That is another thing. So this is, for example, create awareness of the effect of climate change and the need for the public sector to align their financial decisions with sustainable development, so that every companies, they will have sustainable development factors in their financial and investment decisions. Increase investment in green technologies. So this government have a lot of role to play in this, so that they can help to increase investment in clean and green technologies, promoting the use of green bonds. So there is a need to promote the use of green bonds, so that many companies or countries that want to issue bonds, they must have sustainable factors. So all this will help to develop the green bond investment, and promoting collaborations between public and private organizations regarding the green projects. So since it involves a lot of investment, a lot of capital, is very capital intensive. So there is a need for public and private organizations to come together to develop the green energy in developing countries. And my conclusions here is that Green bond is an important tool toward reducing carbon emissions. So because it is a means of mobilizing funds to invest in the productions and consumptions, and need to increase awareness of the needs to transit from the traditional productions and consumptions to sustainable productions and consumptions. Developing countries need to transit from the intensive resources-based economy. So that is, they should reduce their reliance on fossil fuels such as oil and gas, coals, to more cleaner energies. So my presentations is very short, and thank you very much for your patience and listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, a big thank you to Dr. Oladokun for their enlightening presentation. Now, moving on to the Q&A session. Right now, we have plenty of questions for the keynote speakers. Let's start. Let's start from the first one here. Let's see. It's from Pak Darius. So the question is for Dr. Devmali. He said that in the developing country like Indonesia, there is a huge digital divide in Indonesia. The question is, how does the government address the issue to adopt the new technology like fintech? For Dr. Devmali.
Yes.
Okay.
I will take some examples. So in developing countries, as I already mentioned, the unbanked population is quite high, especially in Asian countries and in African countries. But there is a big role that the government can play in this scenario. One thing that I can suggest to this situation is the important thing. It's not a kind of a short-term solution. The long-term solution is to improve the digital literacy among the people. So we need to incorporate computer science as a kind of it should be a part of education system of the kids. And that's where we have to start teaching the computers, and we have to start about teaching the technology to our kids. But that will not provide a kind of a quick solution for this problem, because it is a kind of a long-term solution. But I can take some examples what my government, because I'm originally from Sri Lanka, during the COVID time period, there was a time period where these kids, they could not go to school. And the government asked teachers to teach online, but that was only successful during the urban areas, where the kids in the urban areas, they had the devices and they have the internet connections. But for the kids who are living in the rural area, they were suffering, because in the rural areas, they did not have the internet connection and they did not have the devices as well. So government stepped into this situation. In that scenario, what the Sri Lankan government did was they had some conversations with the mobile companies, and they encouraged mobile companies to do some corporate social responsibility projects to provide internet access to the areas where we did not have internet connections. So they started developing new projects where they set up all these new broadband satellite devices and everything to provide internet connections. In addition to that, the government in Sri Lanka also provided some financial support to the teachers as well as to the kids in the rural area to buy a device as well as to buy an internet connection, just to buy a small dongle, just to access to the internet. So that is how we overcame the situation during that time, because the parents were concerned. The nation as a country, we were all concerned, because one part of the kids in the country, they could study online, whereas the other parties who are underprivileged and who did not have access, they could not study. So that's why I'm thinking, even in Indonesia, the government can do a role. It could be a kind of a quick thing that government could provide internet activities or internet access to the areas where they do not have access. or the government could provide some financial support to buy devices so that everyone can engage in these technologies. But at the same time, my idea is in the long run, it should be a part of literacy improving. We should improve the digital literacy of the people. Otherwise, this is not going to be a kind of a sustainable solution for this issue. I hope I provided the answer for that.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Dr.
Dr. Devmali Pereira. Okay, moving on to the second question is also for Dr. Devmali. Is from Adi Wena, is does fintech threaten banking? Can you please answer, Dr. Devmali Pereira?
My simple answer is yes, to a certain extent. But if you ask me, can fintech replace the entire banking system? I would say it's questionable, because fintech is a technology. We need to think about it like this. Can technology replace everything that human does? So to a certain extent, yes, it can threaten. That's why the traditional banking system also should be mindful here. They need to be able to compete with this existing threat that they're receiving from fintech applications. Fintech applications are getting popular because it is cost effective and it provides a quick service. But at the same time, traditional banking system, if they want to survive in the long run, they should also change their strategies, think about revamping their products and services. So there could be some impact, but I don't think it's going to replace completely.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Devmali.
Okay, next question. Oh, there's a lot of question for Dr. Devmali here. So
I
third
can see.
question. So the third question is from Melati is there any collaborative effort between the government and cryptocurrency platform to ensure the responsible use of digital currencies in Indonesia? Dr.
Okay.
Devmali. Okay.
To be honest, I'm not that aware about the situation in Indonesia, but in general, cryptocurrency is a separate system. So cryptocurrencies are based on blockchain. So blockchain system is a system where the participants, they control the system. So government or regulators, they cannot control the blockchain or the digital distributed ledger. So in this detail, I don't think the government can be a part of that system, or government can make a collaboration with the cryptocurrency systems to control this situation. That's why I was talking about, like, we are moving towards a financial system where we are going to lose the centralized control and we will be focusing towards a decentralized financial system. So that's my answer for that.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question, Melati. Okay. Next question is from Mr. Baidila to Mr. Sri Gunawan. The question is, as we knew from your presentation, there are many benefits of digitizing MSME for their own growth. However, on the other hand, we often hear fraud cases on digital platforms. What do you think about this from consumer protection and the future development of digitalization of MSME? So for Dr. Sri Gunawan, can you please answer the question?
I think we can move on to the next question for Dr. Devmali. Dr.
Ah.
Sri here at the moment.
Okay. Moving on to another question for Dr. Devmali is from the past period until now, banking is the core back of economic activity, and with the growth of fintech right now, to what extent fintech can replace the function of banking? I think it has.
I think we already discussed. Yeah, I think we already discussed this one.
Okay.
Next.
Okay, moving on to the next question is again for Dr. Devmalia. is what do you think about credit card bolstering? Because it's a result of utilization of technology on finance.
To that question, I would say the credit card frauds is not something that has happened recently because of fintech. Long before we were talking about fintech also, we had so many issues with the credit card crimes. So you just we are receiving sometimes many emails asking that, okay, your credit card is expired, you have to provide your information. When you click on that, you provide the information. When something happens, only you realize, okay, you actually provided the information to the wrong people. So that actually happened with me as well once, which I did not know. I thought it was an email from my bank and I provided my details. So I don't think it's a part of fintech, but there is a good thing about the fintech. Now with fintech, we are using the wallets, the digital wallets. So digital wallets are more secure in terms of security compared to credit cards. And at the same time, with the development of technologies, you will see now the banks, if you talk to your banks or if you think about your credit card, the banks has incorporated many new security features to your credit card. So simple thing is two-way securitization, or it's like if you want to do a transaction, you have to have your mobile phone. Without getting a PIN or OTP to your mobile phone, you can't complete that transaction. So that is one way of adding a new security issue. So I think the technology has improved more security features to the credit card, but the frauds related to credit card is not something that actually happened during the fintech. It has been already started long time ago. But fintech is actually providing many solutions for that. I hope I answered to that question.
Thank you, Miss.
Okay, this question is for Mr. Nafio.
Dr.
Oh.
Sri Gunawan is here.
Okay.
We have 3 questions
Okay.
for Dr.
Okay, so the first question for Dr. Sri Gunawan is, where is it?
Another question from Anissa Sofiana, I think. Questions to me about what if the MSME have digitized but have no influence on their sales. Okay, thank you for the questions, Anissa. Usually, all MSMEs who have entered to digitalization of the business processes, and especially using any platforms, e-commerce platforms, social media platform, they have increased their sales. The problem is not whether they cannot increase the sales by adopting digital technology to improve their sales activities or entering the e-commerce. But the problem is that whether they can or they want, they are willing to increase their sales, they're willing to expand their business. Most of the MSMEs surveyed by Katadata or by BRI Finance, they found that the reluctance of adopting MSMEs, one of the reasons is because they're afraid of not being able to increase their production capacity. All their materials that can be used to produce the product so that it increase their sales. Their mindset is that, okay, I'm having this kind of sales, is enough for me. No need to increase our sales, no need to increase our income or not even to increase our businesses. So that mindset have to be changed, that by adopting technology, you have consequences of preparing yourself to increase your income by having many products, by having many stocks of products. So it's not a problem that you can increase your sales because of entering digitalizations, selling your products, things like that. So most of them surveyed, they have a mindset of not being want to increase their business, expand their businesses. They think what they have is enough. Today is enough. What I got is come from the mighty God. It's enough. That needs to be changed. That mentality that needs to be changed, I think, in terms of how they go about with the businesses. That's what I can answer for the Sofiana. Let me see. Okay, another question from Nunung. Based on explanation, there's 50 based that the KPI is perceived to be the key problem. So can MC cope with this problem in the future to boost their performance? That where the governments who then they can come in and help by providing many things what we call platforms issue in terms of increasing the capitals. Now, government has a special loans for MSMEs who is not bankable. So that's what they can do. And nowadays, the government of Indonesia preparing many loans for bankables, unbankables MSMEs with the banks. Many banks have to provide special loans with special fees and special rates to this kind of MSME so that they can get access, more access to capital. Otherwise, they go nowhere. So that's the issues that now to be solved by the governments in terms of how to increase the capability of the MSMEs, especially in gathering loans, funds to expand their businesses. That's the issue. Because one of the biggest problem is having capital. The research also shows the data from the Bureau of Statistics of Indonesia. The problem is basically it's a financial problem. Having enough money to do their business, to expand their business. That's the problems that are faced by MSMEs nowadays. Thank you, Nunung Nurbaiti. I think that's all for me. Zidan. Let me see.
Thank you. Dr. Sri Gunawan.
Okay, back to Bu Fitria.
There's one question, sir. Maybe scroll up.
Is there anyone questions? Let me see.
Yes, there is one more question from Ms. Pak Badila. The question is, as we knew from your presentation, there are many benefits of digitizing MSME for their own growth. However, on the other hand, we often hear fraud cases on digital platform. What do you think about this from consumer protection and the future development of digitalization of MSME?
Okay, thank you. Many organizations, especially government, have provided platform develop softwares for digitalizations of MSMEs business. And currently the numbers of MSMEs who go digital becoming more and more. That's why we call it the numbers increasing quite significantly. The number of MSMEs going digital increasing dramatically, nearly 200% from 2020 to 2022, and it's keep increasing nowadays. And the problems also, we have problems, especially in the consumer protection in terms of fraud and things like that. That's issues that can be covered basically by having an organization that focusing, we call it Yayasan Lembaga Konsumen, institutions protects for consumers, especially in the case of fraud. And also we rely on things like the e-commerce marketplace platforms such as Tokopedia, Blibli, Bukalapak, Shopee, things so on. They're providing special, what we call it, things that can protect the consumers. So there's an advocacy in terms of consumers advocacy created by the organizations, by Lembaga Konsumen, and by e-commerce platforms. It is going quite well right now. We can also report that issues in terms of providing fraud. And at the same time, we need to also educate consumers to go about to buy a product quite easily and buy the product carefully. So we also need the educate and the consumers, and also the buyer. Consumers, also the sellers. So digital literacy can go two ways, for the consumers and also for the sellers, I mean for the MSMEs. That's the way that we can do to increase the awareness, knowledge about any digital transaction. That's my question for Paitila Sampo.
Thank you, sir.
Back to you, Bu Fitria.
Thank you. I think we have one more question from Eko Susan Siswanto. For Dr. Nafyu. Thank you, Dr. Gunawan. We have two questions for Dr. Nafyu. Can you address questions, please?
Okay. So the first questions regarding the challenges that obstacle that financial institutions can face when transitions from the traditional to the green technology. One of the major challenges actually is the cost. So the traditional energies is more cheaper compared to green energy. So therefore, companies being their objective to maximize their profits. So it will be very difficult for them. So they will focus more on the short-term benefits in place of the long-term benefits. So that is one of the major obstacles, so the cost. And the major obstacles, in order to reduce these obstacles, governments in many countries also have to put in place a lot of infrastructures to attract companies to green finance. For example, infrastructure such as giving companies tax reductions when complying with the green energies subsidies. And another thing also is when, for example, all these electric vehicles, no infrastructures in most of the developing countries, for example, the charging points. So therefore, countries will keep increasing all these traditional consumptions and production will still increasing if those things are not addressed.
I think you can address the next questions. you are on mute. Dr. Nafio, you are on mute.
So now the question is, how is the green economic concept? Which countries have implemented the concept? And what are the strategies for dealing with the existing obstacles? So when we are talking of green economic concept basically is about promoting, incorporating ESG factors. When we are talking of ESG factors, we are talking of environmental, sustainability, governance. When companies incorporate all these factors into their investment and business decisions. So when we are talking of countries that have implemented it, in my presentations, I've shown a lot of data regarding the green bond. Green bond is one of those. So as we can see, green bond is widely increasing in most developing countries, in most developed countries, especially the US and European countries. So these are an examples of green economy. So they are mobilizing financial resources towards those companies that have ESG factors into their investment and business decisions. So now, what are the strategies for dealing with this existing strategy obstacle? The strategies actually is for government to have friendly policies, to develop policies that will encourage companies to, to embrace green finance and green investments. So that is one thing. And another thing is government should increase investment in green energy. What are those investments? Investments such as promoting the usages of electric vehicles by providing infrastructures for charging points, all these things. So all these things will help to reduce carbon emissions and help develop and help to increase green finance in developing countries. Thank you.
I think you can answer it quickly for the last one. Is the green economy most effective in the world right now? I think it's the last questions.
Okay. When we are talking of green economy, actually, there is a lot of how can I call it? There is a lot of trade. So there is a trade-off between green finance, green energies, and economic growth. So there is a lot of, so that is why it is very difficult these days. So green finance and green investment, the green economic concept is, it has a lot of challenges in the short run, but in the long run, it has a lot of benefits. So we are grappling with the short-term challenges now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nafio. Muhammad Zidan Atala, can you continue, please?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fitria Fauzi. Finally, we reached the end of our keynote speaker presentation. So to all participants, before we end the keynote presentation, we will take a group photo. So please turn on your camera and use the provided background that we asked you to. So please, everyone, turn on your camera and pose for the perfect picture. Okay.
Three.
On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. This is for slide 1. And
Okay.
the second slide. 1, 2, 3. And the final slide. Again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone. Finally, on behalf of the conference organization, we would like to say thank you for your active participation today and have a great day. Please be informed that the third session will begin immediately at 11:30. So don't leave the Zoom yet because we will be moving on to the breakout rooms. So to all participants who will present their paper, please join the breakout room session by yourself by clicking the room you will join. Those who are not presenting a paper may join any breakout room. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atala. Okay, let me take over. Before we end the session, thank you, Dr. Debmali Pereira, Dr. Sri Gunawan, Dr. Nafio Oladokun for your insight and time today. Thank you. You can leave the room.
Thanks, Vitria. Bye-bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye. Okay. Now we are moving to the, can you mute yourself, please? Now we are moving to the next session, which is panel sessions. So for participants who will present their paper for the first panel session, which will start in about few minutes, we are going to create a breakout room, right? We are going to create breakout room. And for those who will not present any paper, you can join any rooms that you want, right? So I will read the guidelines first for moderators. For moderators, first, when you enter the room, please record the sessions. Second, as a moderator, you open and close the room session. Could you please mute yourself?
Nggak bisa,
Please, mute yourself. Okay, and the moderators have to manage the presentation time. The presentation time is 10 minutes. 10 minutes presentation and 5 minutes Q&A. If you have any questions, you can do that in that 5 minutes time. And please, if the moderator has not shown yet, if they don't come yet to your room, anyone could take charge as a moderator if the moderator is not in the room yet. And for participants, right? First, you need to use your PC or laptop. Second, if you have a question, you have to raise your hand, right? Or you can type in your questions in the chat room. You have to mute yourself when you are not presenting. You have to keep up the presentation time on track, which is only 10 minutes. And you have to join the breakout room by yourself according to your room number. For example, your room number is 2, so you have to join room 2. If your room number is 9, you have to join room 9. Do you have any questions before I create a breakout room?
No.
Yes. Please join by yourself. So if you have no questions. Okay.
Excuse me, I have questions.
Yes.
How to get the room?
You click the breakout room. Please click the breakout room. And you, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Breakout room, yeah, we have 9 rooms, right? And then you choose the room according to the rundown.
Starting from now, is it?
Yes. We can start 30 minutes earlier. The schedule is 11:30, right? But we can start now.
Okay.
So we can finish earlier for the session 1.
Okay.
The session 2 will start at 1:30. Still 1:30 for the session 2. And you will use the same Zoom link, okay? When you join for the second session, please use the same Zoom link.
Zoom link, okay.
Yeah, that we send to you. Okay, please join your breakout room and you can start your panel sessions. Okay. Please join the breakout room. Please join your breakout room according to your schedule. We have 9 rooms according to the schedule. Please join according to your room. Click the room number. Yang belum masuk join ke room, silahkan diklik ya ruangannya. Kita mau mulai presentasi untuk sesi 1.
Ibu Fitri ya, izin bertanya.
Iya.
Di dalam rundown kita, saya ini marketing room 2, time 13.30. Tadi saya masuk room 2, kok nggak terdaftar?
Siang, Pak. Berarti 13.30 itu 1.30, Bapak.
Betul, berarti saya masuknya nanti di 13.30 aja ya, Bu ya?
Iya, boleh.
Siap. Terima kasih, Bu, informasinya.
Pak. Yang sesi
baik.
kedua boleh masuknya siang, atau
Siang,
mau
baik.
dengar dulu yang lain, silahkan.
Baik. Mengerti. Makasih, Bu.
Yang sesi 1 silahkan join ya.
Assalamualaikum Pak Ronald.
Dia.
Assalamualaikum Pak Ronald. Mungkin bisa di absen Pak Ronald dan di kamar 3 itu sebagai Pak Ronald akan bahan kerja ada jadi pertemuan ya. Kalau memang sudah lengkap, bisa dimulai. Apa presenternya sudah lengkap, bisa dimulai untuk pemaparan.
Salah mecet itu berarti.
Apa yang tadi? Nomornya? Nomor foto itu.
Lah Allah, lagi dulu.
Ya,
Nggak bisa masuk kaget aku ini ke mahasiswa aku suruh. Nggak datang dia, nggak datang lah sudah ini.
ada ganti.
Aku suruh ini peserta nomor 1 jadi moderator, aku buat kasih. Banyak yang nggak do ini nih. Aku tidak pacak nggak do masuk ke room.
Fungsi yang kan. Siang kan.
Sudahlah, sudah kuku sujum. Bacaan dia masuk sudah. Bagi yang belum bergabung ke ruangan breakout, yang sesinya sesi 1.30, boleh join ke breakout room ya. Boleh join untuk melihat-lihat, atau ibu bapak boleh gabung nanti siang pukul 1.30 dengan link Zoom yang sama. Jadi Bapak Ibu yang nanti presentasinya di pukul 1.30 boleh meninggalkan Zoom dan join Zoom kembali pukul 1 kurang 1.20 lah Ibu Bapak gabung. Kemudian menggunakan link Zoom yang sama, kemudian join sesuai schedule.
Ibu Fitria, note.
Iya. Iya, terima
dilaksanakan.
kasih Pak Rivi.
Baik Bu, terima kasih Bu.
Baik, terima kasih Bu.
Iya, terima kasih. Bagi yang sesinya sesi siang 1.30, boleh meninggalkan Zoom dan bergabung kembali di pukul 1.30 dengan link Zoom yang sama dan join langsung ke room masing-masing. Terima kasih.
Baik Bu, terima kasih.
Laku Kang Uji. Kang Uji tadi rompiro Kang.
Pak Muji, mohon maaf, sedang sibuk mengatur breakout room.
Cek. Background mana gitu? Backgroundnya coba kirim dari di email kan? Ya, tadi di
Halo Kang. Aku bagian jam piro? Jam 1 ya? Melu anu rom ya. Moderator jam 1.30 ya, delok ya.
Halo Pak Muji.
Halo, Pak Darius. Kenapa background-nya beda sendiri?
Apa di stop itu? Halo. Wah, ada penyusup di belakang itu.
Background-nya kok beda sendiri?
Inovasi dikit. Udah masuk ini, Pak? Oh.
Maaf Pak Darius, lagi sibuk masuk ke room ngeliatin ini.
Siap, siap.
Bentar, Pak Muji, bentar ya.
Nggak apa-apa, yuk, aja. Ini nih, kami bikin ini, kalau satu. Sama, bisa kau. Sama, bisa. Jadi kalau kami tinggal, gua itu yang tinggal kami di. Jadi ini kan ada yang minta, apa yang kami ngomong santai. Kami nggak mungkin guna di bis. Ya, itu nggak mungkin masuk dulu. Kan kami kan belum ada di bis. Jadi ada bikin bis itu. Jadi lagi bawahnya udah kan. Salah itu itu nama saya itu lumayan. Wah, itu sampai berkali-kali. Ya, itu salah itu. Apa yang salah itu? Pasti. Pak masuk sekolah enggak? Kamu? Pak masuk sekolah enggak? Nah itu, aku udah ngecek ke situ. Dan juga ada itu. Dan kok ternyata kok ini apa namanya itu discontinue. Kalau itu masih ada beda atau masih ada fokus pada apapun. Untuk itu kan ada masalah ya. Kalau pembelaan itu masih ada fokus yang benar. Investasi terjadi. Jadi masalah itu bukan fokus itu buat orang itu. Dia tuh